The themes that are important in story are the themes that are important in life. If it matters to you in the way you live your life, it will matter to you in your storytelling.
What is the truth that the main character believes at the beginning of the story?
What is the truth that the main character believes at the beginning of the story? I would say it is, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'll have everything I want. And that truth is revealed to be false. There must be some change in order for you to get what you really want. How do we know? Because if it were true, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he'll get what he wants. The story's over. He keeps doing what he's doing and he gets what he wants. He wins. If I keep playing the lottery, eventually I'm going to win and be rich. Okay, I won the lottery. No, I kept playing the lottery. I know that's a bad example. Let me try. Let me try a different one. Pretty Woman. Richard Gere, the heartless industrialist, says, if I keep buying and stripping companies, firing employees and reaping assets, I will be happy. My life is good, my life is right, I'm living according to principles I believe in. If I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to continue to be happy. That is the truth he believes in at the start of the story. Then he meets Julia Roberts, hooker with a heart of gold, like they exist. And she is pursuing her own truth, which is, I'm not even a hooker. I'm just someone who is doing a job while I'm waiting for my life to start. And if I keep doing this job, I'm paying no price, everything's cool, I'm fine. All I got to do is keep saving money for college and all will be well. They meet each other. They are each other's mutual change agents. Basically, he says to her, I love you, but I can't accept you as you're currently constructed. And she says, basically, to him, I love you, but I can't accept you as you're currently constructed. And so in order for us to be together, we're both going to have to change. We're both going to have to let go of the truths that we started with and arrive at a new truth. How do we know they do it? Because it's there in the final scene of the movie where he climbs up the fire escape to her and says something about, so when the prince climbs up to the princess's tower and saves him, what happens next? And Julia Roberts says, well, she saves him right back. And that is, and they live happily ever after. They are transformed, they're in acceptance, they're reborn, they can live happily ever after, which they couldn't do at the start of the movie.
How does the truth tie into the theme?
The truth is the instruction of the theme. To take the example of Richard Gere, the false truth that he starts out with is, I can exploit people and be happy. The truth that he arrives at is, I can't exploit people and be happy. I have to stop exploiting people. I've got to be a better person. The theme is, be a better person. No matter what it takes, do everything in your power to transform yourself from what you were to what you will become. So when we speak of the character going on a journey from denial to acceptance of the theme, we're saying that the character starts out saying, the theme is not true. I don't agree with the theme. I don't buy the theme. I don't need the theme. I'm the opposite of that. At the end of the movie, I was wrong. I need the theme. I am the theme. I want to follow the instruction of that theme. I want to tell the truth. I want to find love. I want to be my own person. I want to write love songs. All of those understood truths, then those become the themes that the audience understands. Take Wedding Singer as an example. If you want to be a singer-songwriter, be a singer-songwriter. That's the theme of the movie. That's the instruction. Be the person you want to be. When we meet that person, he's not the person he wants to be. When we depart from that person's company, he is the person that he wants to be. The person watching the movie says, hey, if I do what he did, then I can be the person I want to be too. That's the communion of story. That's why story is told. You in the audience, I'm going to show you a guy being transformed. And you're going to say, that was fun, I enjoyed doing that. But in the back of mind, you're going to be thinking, whether you're aware of it or not, if I did that, I would be transformed too. And if transformation is appealing enough to me, I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll do it in a small way. Maybe I'll stop cutting off other drivers when I'm driving. Maybe I'll stop being so impatient in a supermarket checkout line. Maybe I'll spend Saturday mornings writing poems. Okay, it's not a lifetime as a writer, but it's Saturday mornings writing poems, and it's a start. So that's how the viewer is inspired by the story from the storyteller who was inspired by life experience. It's often been noted that there's a difference between writers and everybody else, and the difference is everybody else is content to listen to writers. Everybody else is content to have the truth presented to them. Writers aren't content. They have to figure the truth out for themselves. This is what drives us crazy. If we could accept other people's truths, then we would be in the audience accepting other people's truths. We might be in a congregation of a church. I have no quarrel with religion, but a lot of people who practice religion do it because they don't have to think for themselves, and they're content not to think for themselves. They are given a set of explanations and answers, and they say, that's fine by me. This works for me, drives a lot of value to my life, I'm fine. But writers, and by extension, all questing spirits, are not satisfied with that. We have to figure this stuff out for ourselves. And if we're thwarted in our journey, it frustrates us. But if we are abundant and willing to devote energy to our journey, it gives us exactly the life we want to have.
How does a writer figure out what the theme of the story is?
How does a writer figure out what the theme of their story is? Remember the question I asked earlier? It might not end up in the tape, but what's the most important thing you know?
Yes.
That's where you start looking for theme. You start asking yourself, what are my controlling ideas? What are the big things that matter to me? For myself, take risk. I describe it in more florid terms, surf strange waves. If you see a strange wave, it's going to take you someplace new. Get on that wave. Don't worry about the consequences. Just go. So this is an instruction to the self. I've lived my life according to it. It's a very important theme to me. I like to share that information with other people. You can set yourself free. You can do things that you didn't imagine you could do. So that's a theme that is important to me. The themes that are important in story are the themes that are important in life. If it matters to you in the way you live your life, it will matter to you in your storytelling. And it may very well be that if it doesn't matter to you, it's not going to work as a story because you won't care about it enough on a thematic level. Let's take an example. We were talking about romantic, Harlequin romance type stuff. Maybe the theme of such fiction is a given. It's part of the contract between writer and reader. The theme is always only take love on your own terms. Don't settle for society's version of love. Find your own version of love. That's a pretty well-trod theme, and it comes up over and over again in romances of a certain sort. If I'm writing that material and I have no invested relationship with love, I'm not going to tell that story well. The theme won't matter to me. The theme won't resonate with me. So I always start with themes that are important to me, because exploring those themes will give me enough energy to sustain me while I'm writing page after page after page after page. I wrote a novel once where the theme was accept. In one word, accept. A novel called Lucy in the Sky, available at Bafflegab Books. Story of a teenage boy growing up as a non-hippie in the Midwest in the 1960s. Wants to be a hippie, doesn't know what hippies really are, just knows that there are no hippies where he lives as far as the eye can see. Meets a girl, falls in love with her. She's a hippie. She's going to teach him everything she knows. Too bad she's his cousin. Good news, things are not always what they seem. She might, in fact, not be his cousin. That's part of the story. But what he really learns in the course of this journey is, I will be asked to accept things. I will be asked to accept the presence of this person in my life. I will be asked to accept the demands this person places on me. I will be asked to accept how this person challenges my thoughts. And every time I choose acceptance, I'm rewarded. The first time I accept a willingness, new information, she gives me more of her time. So that's a win for me. When she breaks down and reveals her true self to me and is vulnerable with me, and I accept that, when I accept the worst version of her, then we make love. Not my cousin, by the way. Already squared that part away.
Okay.
So acceptance gets you to make love. That's pretty good. At the time I wrote the novel, acceptance was an issue in my life, and I explored it in the novel and came to a deeper understanding of how acceptance works in my life as I was writing the story of someone who was trying to figure out how acceptance works in his life.
Why does he want to be a hippie?
He had a sense that there was a way of looking at the world that was different from the way he'd been told to look at the world. He had a sense that the old programming of 1950s America wasn't harmonizing with the new reality of 1960s America, and understood that all the things he thought he wanted to be could be found in being a hippie. The real thing he learns is that being a hippie is not about love beats and peace signs. Being a hippie is about the choices you make and the chances you take, what you believe in and how you stand behind what you believe in. That's my interpretation. There's like cartoon hippie, summer of love hippie, and then there's personal transformation hippie. A lot of people in my generation, mostly a little bit older than me, woke up one day and said, whatever society has in mind for me, I've been given to understand that there is a higher reality, and I'm not going to settle for this BS reality, not when I know there's a higher reality. Maybe I learned it by reading Jack Kerouac on the road, maybe the poems of Allen Ginsberg or the paintings of Kandinsky or Pollock. By the time our hero wants to be a hippie in 1969, there's a lot of evidence that there's a lot of transformation available to him that is untouched by him. So it's easy to think that it's easy to conflate being a hippie with being transformed. They're not the same thing. But becoming a hippie is a legitimate pathway toward transformation. But so is becoming a priest, so is becoming a nun, so is becoming a social worker, so is becoming an artist. These are all legitimate paths to transformation. The path that's not a legitimate path to transformation is take a job in your father's store because that's what your father wants you to do, and run the store when your father dies, even if it's the last thing in the world you want to do. That's not acceptable. In 1950s America, it's acceptable because there's no counter-narrative. By 1960s America, and certainly by 2025 America, there's plenty of counter-narrative. There's plenty of people who've figured out just because they tell you you have to live your life a certain way, you don't have to live your life that way. So I would say he only thought he wanted to be a hippie. That's the truth he thought. But what he really wanted was transformation. And he got it.
It's interesting, people that grow up with some shelter versus those that don't, what they find appealing and what they need. Because for some, it might actually be nice to know there's a port in the storm, i.e. the father's store to work in.
Yes, exactly. Look, not everybody needs to be transformed, and not everybody wants to be transformed. Again, we're talking about writers and everybody else, or artists and everybody else. People listening to this podcast for sure want to be transformed. Otherwise, they wouldn't be tuning in. But not everybody's like that. I asked my dad once, what do you believe in? And his answer boiled down to, don't know, don't care. And I thought, well, all right, I hope that works for you when you're dying. Turns out he got Alzheimer's, and he died without knowing or caring. So ironically, his life philosophy did sustain him. And I see that expression on your face, oh, it's so sad, your father died of Alzheimer's. This is where I wish I could just have a laser beam from my mind to your mind, because there is no sadness in my mind in thinking about that. There's no sadness in my mind about thinking about my mother's death. There's no sadness in my mind, this is tricky, about my brother's own cognitive impairment. I love him, I lament what's happening to him, but I don't assign a negative value to things, and that's by choice. It's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just a thing that is. And if that's your point of view, it's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just a thing that is. You can operate so much more effectively in this life, and you can have so much more happiness because you're not burdened by that negative assessment that we put on virtually everything in our lives.